Guides told her to look for an absolutely unavoidable shift in the Earth's axis and crust around the beginning of the next century. Regardless of any thought or deed by those in physical form, and despite all the efforts of scientists and engineers to avert it, the shift will occur. The shift will have its warnings. The revolutions of the Earth will be slowed in the last years of this century. The weather will be worsening in most areas. The storms will become increasingly violent, with heavy snowfalls, strong gales, and increased humidity. There will be rumblings beneath the Earth, and the trees will sway. Shortly before the actual shift, there will be two specific types of warnings. The eruptions of ancient volcanoes in Mediterranean islands, South America and California will result in pestilence, and shortly thereafter earth tremors of major proportions, affecting wide land masses in northern Europe, Asia, and South America will provoke tidal waves of monumental scope. Then, will be the forerunners of the shift itself, and for days and nights beforehand the earth will seem to rock gently, as if soothing an infant in its trundle bed. They said some will recognize this as the time to remove themselves quickly from the sea coasts and other exposed places, and while that exodus is occurring, there will be increasing earthquakes and volcanic eruptions in flat areas that had previously shown no sign of cones. Some will remain despite the alarms, disbelieving that a shift will occur, and some, deciding that it is a good time to return to spirit, will refuse to leave their homes. The Earth will hesitate in its orbit prior to the shift. In daylight areas, the sun will seem to stand still overhead, and then to race backward for the brief period while the Earth settles into its new position relative to the sun. In nighttime areas, the stars will seem to swing giddily in the heavens, and as dawn breaks, the sun will seemingly rise from the wrong place on the horizon. Those who are capable of reaching safety will see the Earth's surface tremble, shudder, and in some places become a sea of boiling water. Water will pour over and cover many areas of our present continents. Simultaneous explosions beneath the Earth's crust will bring new land above the surface of the waters, as other areas are swallowed by the sea. We ask that you picture a giant wave, higher than a 10-story building, racing toward shore. Impossible to escape it, so in that moment of terror, it is well to put aside fear and think only of the good that is to come by passing into spirit. Conquer fear, and one has risen above the battle. For the survivors there will be anguish and heartache, but also exhilaration in having withstood the ferocity of nature, and most of those remaining will feel that God saved them for a purpose. Simply occur drastic climate alterations. Some cold places will become warm and some warm places will freeze over. Countless numbers of humans, animals, and birds will freeze to death where the new poles settle. Ferocious and devastatingly high winds will sweep away most above-ground structures. New York City will vanish. Florida will scarcely survive, except as scattered islands. The southern states bordering the Atlantic and Gulf of Mexico will be drastically altered, including parts of Texas. In the west, the remainder of California will disappear beneath the broiling waves. Canada will be in a warmer latitude, and much of it will be relatively safe from sinking or destruction by tidal waves. Not a bad place to be if survival is your choice. Washington, D.C. will be devastated, but not totally destroyed being near the mountains. Government workers will carry on in the previously prepared shelters there, beneath and within the solid rock. Virginia Beach will strangely survive, as most other seaside resorts disappear. Whole areas of the eastern and western United States will be deluged. Hawaii slides into the sea. Those who want to remain in the physical body will be thinking of moving to inland areas before the shift. We do not mean that the elderly should flee the Sun Belt. Rather, they should give serious thought to whether it is worth the effort to make drastic alterations in lifestyle in their declining years. Civilization will diminish as the Earth changes wipe out or render useless hydroelectric plants, housing developments, office buildings, skyscrapers, dams, refineries, telephone lines, dock facilities, and more. Cities will be in utter chaos. Suburbs will be the first areas thronged by weary refugees from metropolitan centers, scavenging and stealing to keep their bodies alive. Her guide said that at the time of the writing, preparations were already well underway for the problems of assimilating a huge influx of souls crossing over simultaneously. Ultimately, whether you find yourself with or without a body, she wants to point out that our souls are immortal, and we should not worry about surviving as such. She states that standing up to the stresses and helping others will forward your soul's progress. She says that the shift will also eradicate some of the evils of the present age along with sweeping clean the beastliness and cupidity that surrounds us. Serenity and love toward your fellow man are important to the new world she sees ahead. She, like many authors, sees a brighter future for those that are left and sees a flowering of a civilization in which the best of man's instincts are given full range. The shift will eradicate mind control and closed societies because all peoples will be working together for survival. Those who fear the event should think of the exciting movies they have watched, such as Star Wars, and realize that they will be privileged to witness one of the greatest events of all ages. It is like a marvelous solar flare that would bring all out of their houses to watch and to tell their grandchildren about. So why not feel the same way when one is actually a part of the great happening? Those who survive will dine out on the story, as the phrase goes, for the remainder of their lives, telling the new arrivals about it, and pointing out where there used to be land and now is water. Think of the thrill for those hundreds of miles inland to peer out the next morning and discover that they are now living beside the sea. Be much to commend this experience, so do not think of it as a diabolical era. Her guides say millions of people will survive the shift in their physical bodies. It will be an interesting, fascinating, full of challenges and opportunities. There are also records from many great civilizations that have come and gone before ours, which will be found after the shift, according to Ruth. Her guides have said this shift is a cosmic event, something big to study, watch, and help out with in our part of the universe. Thus, UFO and alien sightings will be on the increase. Apparently, there are many terrestrial organizations that have known about and have been preparing for this event for decades. These people have planted fruit and nut trees and have stored grains for future needs. Some are already teaching basic survival skills, and some have stored their documents in safe places. There will be safe areas. As the time approaches, these will be made known through brotherhoods and inner awareness, so that those wishing to survive in physical being will be aided in going there. Acquiring skills that we can share or barter with others is especially valuable preparation. For many years now, a quiet trend has emerged. Some are learning proper use of their soil. Others are acquiring medical training or midwifery skills, learning how to work with fabrics, leather, and skins, developing herb gardens, drying fruits and vegetables for preservation, fashioning pottery from local clay, and discovering how to harness water power to run machines off the grid system. Everyone who wants to survive would do well to learn a few basic skills that can be shared. They would also be wise to gather such simple equipment as needles, sharpening stones, knives, axes, fish hooks, hammers, and other hand tools that are not electrically operated. All of us are aware of the catastrophic conditions that often result from a massive power failure in our cities, with the resultant looting and rampaging through the streets, the food spoilage, and the lack of fuel. We know what havoc can occur when an unusually heavy snowstorm paralyzes traffic, halts deliveries, and blocks garbage collection. If pandemonium is created by such relatively isolated occurrences as these, it is mind-boggling to think of the worldwide chaos that could result from a shift of the axis. Most distribution and transportation systems will collapse, and if people are without basic skills and without knowledge of how to work together, they will not survive.